call this meeting of the board at Duncanville ISD Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that the quorum of board members and trustees is present and that the meeting has been duly called and that the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. Good evening to everybody. Our mission, Duncanville ISD, is to engage, equip, and empower all scholars to achieve their unique potential. And I think we've got something special to do tonight, don't we?
Yes, sir.
We're going to swear in our new police chief tonight.
You ready for me?
It's your turn.
All right, let's go. All right, well, good evening, everyone. So glad that you were able to make it this evening. Good evening, board members. We are indeed excited and proud to be able to take part in the swearing-in ceremony of our Chief of Police, Chief Mitchell Lambert. I'll have a few comments to make here, and then I'll be turning it back over to the board president, and they'll go down and make the formal pinning presentation. So last month, the Board of Trustees unanimously approved the hiring of Sergeant Lambert as the new Chief of Police in Duncanville ISD. So Chief Lambert, at this time, will you please come forward? It's okay to applaud as he comes forward. Thank you. So President McNeely, will you please join Chief Lambert at the podium for the official swearing in? And while President McNeely makes his way, I'll continue with my comments. So while we were without a chief of police for a period of time, Chief Lambert did a very good job of keeping our department moving forward and providing stability. We are very confident in his ability to lead our police department. During the interim period, he provided great leadership, understood the value of communication, and he was just fiercely committed to serving the principals and the community here in Duncanville ISD. Chief, because you have a history of not only protecting, but you have a history of service and support, I wanted to share some information that maybe not everyone was aware of. But after the tragic shootings that took the lives of Dallas and Dart police officers on July 7th, 2016, Chief Lambert worked with the Dallas Police Department during the week of the funerals to cover the streets and to take calls so that the officers could attend the funerals. Just an example of his commitment to service and his commitment to his fellow officers. He was also featured on CBS for the Panther 5-0 program. As many of you know, in the district, this program focuses on mentoring and taking an active role in athletics and other programs within our school district to help guide youth. He was particularly focused on the baseball team and established lots of great relationships there. He is well known and respected in the law enforcement community. He's established an effective working relationship with the city of Duncanville, and he's created a training partnership with the Duncanville Police Department. And so I am really proud to call him a teammate. He's been with us through some very challenging times, and I can tell you he's committed. He loves Duncanville, Team Duncanville, and I'm just looking forward to working with you as we move forward in this partnership. At this time, I'll turn it over to President McNeely so that we can move forward with the official pinning.
Let's see. For 8 years, Chief Lambert has served as an investigator specializing in child abuse and violent assaults. Chief Lambert has served almost all his career in school-based law enforcement. He is a graduate of the Institute of Law Enforcement Administration and holds multiple licenses and certificates that include Property and Evidence Management, TCOLE instructor, Pressure Point Control Tactics instructor, Interview and Interrogation and Child Abuse and Sexual Assault investigator. Chief Lambert has served as at Duncanville ISD since the spring of 2014 until becoming one of the founding members of the Duncanville ISD Police Department in 2018. We are really happy that you will continue your career leading our police department. Now raise your right hand and let me get my cheat sheet here. I, say your name.
I, Mitchell Lambert,
Please move up here. Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties and the position of police chief in the Duncanville Independent School District, Dallas County, Texas.
that I would, I'm sorry,
No, I'm sorry. That I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties,
the duties,
the position of police chief
position of police chief
in the Duncanville Independent School District,
the Duncanville Independent School District,
Dallas County, Texas,
Dallas County, Texas,
and to the best of my ability,
and to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, defend
the Constitution and laws of the United
the
States
Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Ms. Fields will now pin the badge on our new chief. And introduce your special guest and say a few words.
Thank you very much for the support. First off, I would like to tell you thank you to my team, police and security. We've been through a lot together, and I'm proud to lead this department to something the whole community can be proud of. If you could stand to be recognized, my team over there. Thank you. I'd also like to thank my brothers in blue. Regardless of the badge or city or position, it is one big family, and I'm proud to serve and lead this department to something we can all be proud of and serve each other through all this. Thank you all very much. Also, I'd like to give a thank you to the board of President, Superintendent Mark Smith. We've been through a lot together. I'm very proud. Nobody is self-made. Anybody with success or a leadership role, nobody got there on their own. It takes a community. It takes people in your lives. It takes guidance from all walks of life. And thank you for guiding this. Thank you for leading me into this direction, to take this position. And I won't let you down.
We will now move into closed session. Okay, back from closed session, we'll move on into our opening ceremonies. Trustee Janet Veracruz will lead us in prayer.
Good evening, everyone. If you would please bow your head for a moment of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to meet together. Please help us to come together to make this business reflect your kingdom. Breathe life into the educators, students, and team of 8. I pray that our ideas and decisions are reflective of love and respect at its heart. Lord, give us the inspiration to be the best we can be. May every leader and representative here be a shining example of your goodness and truth within the school district and beyond. In his mighty name, amen.
Say the Pledge of Allegiance. Now we'll move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Smith.
All right, thank you, President McNeely. Thank those who are in attendance here. The board meeting and board members have the following items that I'd like to report on this evening for the superintendent's report. The first item, very excited to announce just an awesome announcement. Of course, one of our goals has always been to create an opportunity in our district that we could produce national merit scholars. And that is a super high achievement for any student in the nation to be able to earn. And so I'm proud and excited to announce that Bronson Hooper has been named the 2023 National Merit Scholar semifinalist. And so you can't be you can't earn that National Merit Scholar status without first becoming a semifinalist. So he is amongst a very, very rare, small number of students across the nation, and we are so very proud of him. He has an opportunity to compete for National Merit Scholar scholarships worth nearly $28 million. He also was just courted by MIT. They have offered him an opportunity, and they want to pay him and his family 3 days to come to MIT, showcase their program in hopes that he would select MIT as an opportunity to go to school there. So we are very proud of Bronson. I want to say congratulations to him. We're proud of your accomplishments, and we certainly wish you the best as you continue to go through the process. The next item that I have, again, just very proud to be recognized as a district by other entities. We found out last week that we have been identified as an outstanding district by the HEB Excellence Award in Education. You may know the food chain HEB is deeply involved in supporting school districts, and they have different awards that they provide, whether it be for excellence in principalship, excellence in teachers, and they have this one, of course, for outstanding school districts. And so it's based on student achievement, innovation in a particular district, and the emphasis on professional development opportunities, and so and also parent and community involvement. And so based on our size, if we win, we could possibly win $100,000 for being selected. And so it's just an honor to be recognized by such an esteemed organization who could have chosen any district across the state of Texas. And so we're very proud that others are recognizing the good work that's going on here in Duncanville ISD. The next item that I have tonight is just an opportunity to highlight the community support and partnership. We engaged with Toyota, South Toyota, in a partnership toward the end of last school year. They've been very visible in our school district, helping us through our convocation at the beginning of the year, providing rental cars for teachers, who won different events at the beginning of the year. And we're really proud of this. All of our Teachers of the Years, Teacher of the Year, they have a official parking spot reserved for them with Teacher of the Year on it. And so we, along with our maintenance staff, went to each campus, and we got to watch them post the reserved parking area for the teachers. That's a photo of all of us, and I think some of them are here this evening. I just want to recognize the Toyota group, but we're very proud of that partnership. Additionally, each teacher received $100, and that $100 could be used to purchase school supplies for their classroom or any other item that they wanted to select for their students. So thank you, South Toyota. Thank you, Duncanville ISD maintenance team, for making this happen for our teachers. And then the last item that I have, really excited that our JROTC program is back in Duncanville ISD. We have been working on that for quite a while. We know what this is going to mean for our students in terms of their leadership, in terms of their ability to plan and organize and know what it's like to be a part of a team, even understanding the discipline that's associated with wearing the uniform. I can tell you they were at the football game on Friday, and the pride that they had in those uniforms, it was just awesome. And so I'd like for you to see, it's still, I think it's there, yeah. I'd like for you to see the students and this brief video that we have. Again, we are so very excited. They're just getting started. It's a little over 100 students that are in the program. And by the way, most are female, so that's a good thing. Most are female. And so we're just getting started. The program is going to grow and grow and grow, and we're excited for what this is going to mean for our students and how it's going to help them not only currently, but even in their future to become outstanding leaders. So join me in watching this brief video. Thank you. Also want to recognize retired First Sergeant Judith Helen Atkins. That was the young lady you saw in the photo. She's doing an awesome job of leading the young women and young men. Thank you.
Now we move into recognitions. Mrs. Wallace.
All right, we'll move to donations. So President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. Next slide, please. All right. I am delighted to share that we have received several donations over this past month. You can see here that Code Blue Painting and Renovations is supporting our football team this season. And we have Concord Church. They have made a back-to-school contribution to the district. And as mentioned by Dr. Smith just a moment ago, South Toyota has provided every Teacher of the Year with a reserved parking sign at their school and a $100 in classroom supplies, as well as at Convocation, staff members won free car service, such as oil changes, tire rotations, not not to mention a few lucky folks, won the use of a Toyota for an entire weekend free of charge. So that was a highlight for so many staff members. Next slide. Additionally, we had several other companies and individuals to make donations to support our schools. Are there any questions about the donations that are listed here? All right.
Looks good to me.
Thank you. And with permission, I will move forward into the next recognition that we have in terms of, we have some special guests in the house. If Mr. Doucette, will you and your choir members please join me at the podium? While they are coming to the front, or you guys can stand and be recognized right there. Y'all are right front and center. First, let me introduce to you guys Mr. Paul Doucette. Mr. Doucette, if you'll join me closer. That's good. Mr. Doucette is the new Director of Choral Activities at Duncanville High School. Additionally, he serves as the Secondary Choral Coordinator for the entire district. He is the Texas Music Educators Association President for our region and the Texas Music Educators Association All-State Mixed Choir Coordinator. His resume is very impressive, and he has inherited a top-tier program that is saturated with extremely talented students. Tonight, we applaud our Grammy Museum Signature Schools Award-winning Duncanville High School Choir, where they are receiving a financial grant intended to support choral programs. And we are one of 21 schools across the nation that's being recognized with that grant. So let's give them a round of applause. And I would like to invite Mr. Doucette to quickly share a few words or some of the accomplishments of the choir from the 21-22 school year.
Good evening, President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. Again, my name is Paul Doucette, Director of Choirs here in Duncanville ISD. It is indeed an honor that I am able to speak on all of the accomplishments that the choir has accomplished in the past year, and I will highlight just a few. But before I do, I would definitely be remiss if I did not recognize my colleague, Mr. DeEvan Johnson, Assistant Choral Director here in Duncanville ISD. Just a few brief accomplishments. The list is very exhaustive and very pleased about that. But I will highlight just a few of the things accomplished by the choir last year. Last year, Duncanville ISD had 5 TMEA All-State choir members. That is tantamount to winning the state football championship in choir. So that's very impressive. We had 5 students from this district. Very impressive. Last year, we had 4 UIL Concert and Sight Reading Sweepstake Awards. So 4 different choirs went to UIL Concert and Sight Reading Contest. They performed 3 prepared pieces and sight read a piece that they've never seen before and received all sweepstake awards from every judge that judged them. So that is quite an honor. And finally, I'll recognize the Grammy Signature School Award. So last year, recordings and a written application was submitted into the Grammy Museum Foundation, and our school was selected to be a Grammy Award-winning school. We received an award, and additionally, there was a $5,000 grant that was given to the choral program to support the work that the choir does. And I am so very honored that our students are being recognized for their extreme hard work and their immense talent. So thank you, Board, for your time to recognize our wonderful students.
right, thank you so much, Mr. Doucet. Next, if I can have Miss Yvette Green, will you and your members of the track team please join me at the podium? So President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith, this is Miss Yvette Green, our head coach for girls track and field. The track and field team had an outstanding run to state this past season. They won the district. They won district by more than 50 points with only 15 girls and had at least one top 3 finisher in 14 of the 17 events. This team has made an equally strong presence at the area track and field meet and left as area champions. The team proved to have stamina by continuing their championship run at regionals. The team left the meet as champions and qualified for the state meet in the 4x100 meter relay, 4x400 meter relay, and an individual qualifier in the 200 meter. So, Ms. Green, would you like to recognize your group by saying a few brief words? Yes.
Good evening, President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. It is truly an honor to be in this setting and for the very reason that I get to stand before you and recognize these wonderful young ladies and this accomplished staff that I have. So thank you for your time, and we appreciate you taking the time to honor these young ladies and the work that they do for Duncanville High School. So I am super excited. Like Mrs. Wallace said, they had an amazing run last year, and one of the things that I'm most proud about with this group of young ladies, amongst all of these accomplishments, is that we have a very young group. Amongst this group, we had a 4x1 that included 3 freshmen and 1 sophomore, so they are all back with us. We had freshman Ashley Lister, freshman Gabby Goodgames, freshman DeKayla Simpson, and sophomore Aaliyah Gibson. And they finished 4th at state in the 4x100 meter relay. So very proud of those young ladies. We were also able to compete in the 4x400 meter relay, which also had had 1 freshman on there, a sophomore, and 2 juniors. So that relay is returning as well, which we're super excited about also. We had freshman, and you'll hear her name again, Ashley Lister. We had sophomore, you'll hear her name, Aaliyah Gibson. And we had junior Kennedy Brown. And we had junior Kaylee Hill that represented us at the state track meet last year. So again, super excited about these young ladies. We also had an individual accomplishment and a qualifier with Aaliyah Gibson. Her name has been said 3 times. A very outstanding, talented young lady. But she made it in the 200 meters as an individual, as a sophomore. So super excited for this group of girls and so excited that they are all returning. So we look forward to having an amazing season, more impactful and more powerful this year with this group that we have returning. Thank you again for having us stand before you and to honor these young ladies. And let me just say, I have one of the most amazing staff, and I want to recognize them as well. We have First Assistant, Coy Square, Assistant, William James, they have the same name. So I have a William James, and then I have a James Williams. Yeah. And we also had another coach. He's still with us. He's part of the men's football team. His name is Xavier Brown, and he was also a part of the team last year. So thank you again for recognizing our wonderful team. Thank you.
right. And these are accomplishments from the 21-22 school year. So when we're hearing their grade and whether they're coming back, I recognize that we do have a few folks on that team that are seniors now that will hopefully potentially go on and they will be here this year, but maybe even go on beyond this year and be at the collegiate level. So this is awesome. So next, and certainly last but not least, we are excited to have Coach Brookins to please come to the front with your team. All right. So President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith, this is Coach Clayton Brookins, our head coach for boys track and field. Mr. Brookins joined the Duncanville ISD family in July of 2021 and has already led us to the top. In fact, we have 5 school records set. We are district team champions, regional team champions. We had the highest point total for a state runner-up team in UIL 6A history. We could be here all night if I listed all of the accomplishments that our boys track and field team had this past school year. So let me invite Coach Brookins to share a few words about the team and some of their accolades. And it is my understanding, Coach Brookins, correct me if I'm wrong, were you also named the National Coach of the Year?
Yes.
All right, I shouldn't say that quietly. The National Coach of the Year in our presence.
Good evening, President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. I'm a man of short words, so I will not be long. Those that know me know I'm just right to the point and let's go. I would like to thank you guys for giving me this opportunity to come present before you, but I need to start out with thanking and recognizing my staff members first. First Assistant, William Henderson. Sprint Coach, Reddick, I'm sorry, my bad. Alfred Trimble, Sprint Coach. Hurdle Coach, Lydia Reddick. All right, and you guys know all about me as the head coach. So, nice year last year. We accomplished many things. First and foremost, I was very proud on the team being healthy throughout the season and finally getting to the state track meet and bringing home lots of gold medals. When I was hired, I told Mr. McDonald that we will be state champions. Fell just short, but I promise you it's on the horizon this year. So, accolades. We broke the 4x1 school record and became only the 5th school in United States history to run sub 40 with a 39.98 in the 4x1 relay. We broke the school record in the 4x2, breaking 124, running 123.90. We broke the school record in the 800, 153.31. We broke the school record in the 100, 10.19 by Pierre Goree, who's here, just left SMU's football practice. We're gonna work on that as well. We also broke the school record in the 4x8. None of those guys are here, but all those guys are actually in college, starting with Gary Brooks, who's at Sam Houston University, Christian Simmons, who's at Texas A&M University, Evan Simmons, who's at the University of Arizona. All those guys received scholarships and are at school and were unable to make it, but and since I'm on that scholarship list, we also had Dante Hamilton, who was a member of the 4x1s at the University of Houston, also on track and field scholarship. We had a 3rd place finish in the high jump field events by Kalen Jones. He's at the University of Texas UTA at Arlington, 3rd place finish. We also, on P.O. Goree, I was named Coach of the Year, but Goree was named the Texas Gatorade High School Track and Field Athlete of the Year as well. And, you know, we had news stories, paper stories throughout the year, so I'm sure you guys read up on all the accolades as the season move on. So I'm really going to wrap it up with also recognizing my wife in the back, Rhonda Brookins. Everybody know I may be the ultimate decision maker, but she's the brain of the whole deal. And Dr. Fields and Dr. Nix and those who have been in the interview, they know what I'm talking about. And that'll be it. That's it.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. One more time. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did forget a couple of my student athletes. Jalen Washington, he was on 4x1 ankle leg, 4x2 ankle leg as well. And Clayton Brookins, he was first leg on 4x1, and he was third leg on 4x2. One of these guys will be the state champion in this.
And we recognize that the support of their campus leadership in our athletic department is paramount in their success. And so if you'll join me in recognizing our athletic director, Mr. Weaver, and executive principal of the high school, Mr. McDonald, because all three of these groups that we recognized here today are from our high school. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Now we will conduct a public hearing to allow the public to participate in the discussion of proposed tax rate. Dr. Bigby, it's on your shoulders.
You always schedule me after something like that. We're going to go from all of that to talking about taxes. But as you're aware, by law, we have to have a hearing that's publicly posted, and this has been so, and allow the public to comment on the proposed tax rate. Okay, next slide. Our values this year, last year were about $5.7 billion. This year, almost $6.5 billion, or an increase of 12%. And you property owners, I'm sure, recognize the fact that there was a large increase in the values. Next slide, please. On the M&O side, if you remember, House Bill 3 basically set up the legislation that sets our tax rate for us. They take the increase and multiply it into some factors and basically determine what our maintenance and operation tax rate, the maximum it can be. This year that works out to 0.8046. The way the compression works, and it continues to compress taxes as the values go up, which theoretically gives the taxpayer a break. But of the 1,080 school districts, 700 are at this 8046, which is the basement of where the formulas are set up. So I'm assuming there'll be something in this next legislative session that moves the basement of that, hopefully further down, which the further down it goes, the state makes up the money, so it is a break for our taxpayers. So hopefully it can continue to go lower. If they don't want it to go any lower, then it saves the state money. because they don't have to make up the difference. So that could be interesting in the legislative session. If you remember when the TRE was passed a few years back, it was a 17-cent increase. Well, that also was compressed as taxes began to be compressed. So that 17 is now 0.1283 cents. So when you add that to the 8046, then we're proposing a total rate of 0.9329, which is 4.3 cents less than the rate was last year. And that's the maintenance and operation proposal. Next slide, please. Interest and sinking, or the debt payment rate, last year it was 34 cents. We're proposing this year that you approve 32 cents, which is a 2-cent drop. Even with this, it still leaves us in a very good position if you should choose to, within the next year or two, to go out for a bond issue. It still allows plenty of bonding room without much of a tax increase at all if you want to do something in the bond market. There's nothing on the table now, but this reduction to 2 cents is not going to hurt our ability to pay for a bond with just a minimal or no tax increase. So that's a good situation for us. Okay, next slide. When you compare these together, 21-22, the M&O was 9.759, the INS was 34 cents, or a total of 131.59. This year we're proposing the maintenance and operation tax of 93.29, INS of 32 cents, or a total of 125.29. You can see together that's a reduction of 6.3 cents on the tax rate, or almost 5% reduction in the tax rate when you add the two together. Part of the problem with all of this for the taxpayers, the average home value went from $174,000 to $199,000 this last year, which was a 14.5% increase. The taxes on that house from last year would have been $22.90 for school taxes. They will go to $24.97, or a $207 increase, but that's only a 9% increase, where if we'd have left the tax rate the same, then it would have been a 14.5% increase. So by lowering the tax rate, at least there's a partial break for the taxpayer. Okay, next slide. If you'll remember, last November, you had the opportunity to vote on a constitutional amendment that raised the homestead exemption from $25,000 to $40,000, and it passed overwhelmingly, which it should have. So last year, our rate was $131.59. If the home was valued at $100,000, then there was a $25,000 exemption, so the taxable value was $75,000, and the taxes on that home would have been $986.93. This year, at the rate of $125.29, if your house was still valued at $100,000, this is just for comparison, you would have had a $40,000 exemption, which made $60,000 taxable, or $751.74 in taxes. So that's a savings of $235.19. Of course, no one's home stayed at $100,000, but the state has us compare a $100,000 house when we're presenting this. So you can see the $40,000 exemption is very helpful, even as your rates went way up. At least that extra $15,000 on your homestead. Now, it doesn't apply to business, doesn't apply to rental property, but it does apply to your homestead. And that's the presentation on the proposed tax rate for next year. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have or that the public may have.
Okay. We do not have any public comments, so the hearing is ended. We will now move on to communication from citizens to discuss pending agenda items before the board. And we don't have any of those either, okay. And we'll move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Is that where we are? Motion, we're gonna move.
Mr. President, Mr. President, I move that we take items B, C, and D and move it to the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Motion carries. Now, do I have a motion about the consent agenda approving?
Mr. President, I move that we accept the agenda as amended.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Motion passes. And move on to the action agenda. And which one do we move? Okay, Dr. Bibby, you again.
It's me again with good news. Don't have a lot more to present to you other than what we had in the hearing. We are recommending that you set the tax rate for maintenance and operation at 0.9329, the debt service rate at 32, or a total of 125.29. We would ask that you approve the recommendation and the resolution that's attached.
Do I have a motion in regards to the property tax rate to be decreased by the adoption of tax rate 1.2529 for the general fund and debt service, which is effectively 0.3% decrease in the new revenue tax rate and the reduction of 4.79% over the 2021 and 2022 adopted tax rate. This tax rate is presented by Dr. Bigby, Chief Financial Officer, and is recommended by Dr. Mark Smith, Superintendent of Schools.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Questions? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
6-0.
6-0, I'm sorry. I couldn't be one of those National Merit Scholars. Okay, 10E, consider the approval of request to the Texas Education Agency for maximum class size exemption waiver. Pamela Brown, please.
Thank you. Good evening, President McNeely, trustees, and Dr. Smith. Tonight, I will be presenting information regarding submitting elementary class size waivers to TEA in accordance with Board Policy EEB Legal. Next slide. Districts are required to submit a class size exception waiver for pre-K through 4th grade classrooms that exceed a student-to-teacher ratio of 22:1. Although we work hard to avoid going over the 22:1 ratio, this is an indicator of our student enrollment trend as well as the teacher shortage crisis that we're facing as a nation at this moment. The leveling process began after Labor Day to examine student enrollment for those classes in pre-K through 4th grade. The Curriculum and Instruction Department, the Human Resources Department, the Student Services Department, and the Chief of Schools all collaborated together to see how we could best serve the students of Duncanville. It was determined at that time that 36 classrooms would be impacted by the need for a waiver. Due to the growth at various campuses and to the nationwide teacher shortage. Next slide. As noted in this graph, our actual elementary school enrollment has surpassed the projected enrollment by approximately 300 students. Due to the increase in student enrollment, some of our classrooms have exceeded the 22-to-1 ratio. Next slide. Before we look at this year's waivers request, I do want to remind you of the requests that we have made in the past. We have had larger numbers at our elementary campuses, and you can see that with the decline in enrollment during the 2019-20 and the 2020-21 school years, that our waivers dipped, but they were not representative of a typical school year. This year, we know that there's a teacher shortage. We have worked hard to quickly address overages at the campuses with the approval of student transfer requests and daily tracking data and enrollment at all the various grade levels. And in previous years, the district has continued to perform well academically, even with the use of class size waivers. Next slide. As you can see by this chart, the 36 sections that are exceeding the 22-to-1 ratio are at all 9 elementary campuses. And of the 36 waivers, 10 of them include bilingual classroom waivers, which are highlighted in the light blue. Our theme this year of DVille All In truly reflects the spirit of our teachers. Many teachers have voluntarily welcomed students into their classroom. They've went to their campus principals and said, you know, when the teacher was not available, but they were willing to take those students on because they did not want them to miss out on teaching and learning. And so our teachers have really been team players in the classroom with working with our students and making sure that all students are receiving instruction. In order to ease the classroom sizes, the restriction of grade level sections may occur, or teachers will incur a $1,000 teacher stipend for each student that exceeds that 22-to-1 ratio. Additionally, pre-K students, pre-K classrooms also have a teacher's aide already. Campus administrators are working with the teachers that do have the larger classrooms to provide the best learning environments possible, including physical space when possible and additional supports as needed. As noted in the far right-hand column, the primary reason for requesting the waivers is due to student enrollment growth, but also including areas where there is a teacher shortage. We do not want to further disrupt the learning of our students with moving students, and so we wanted to limit that as much as possible. And so that's why we are asking for the waivers at those campuses to keep those students on the campus so that we can support their social and emotional needs as well. Next slide. At this time, Kathleen Brown is just going to talk about some of the supports that are coming from the HR department with the incentives that we're doing in our teacher search.
Good evening, Mr. President, Dr. Smith, Board of Trustees. A few of the things that are listed on the slide, Ms. Brown has highlighted, and so I'll just go over them a little deeper so that you'll know what the thinking was as those decisions were made. As far as the leveling process is concerned, it was very important at the elementary level that we waited until things kind of settled down before we made changes. We have little learners all the way down to 3 years old, and so doing something disruptive at the very beginning of the year would not have been a good idea. And so we've waited to after Labor Day to see once everybody is where they're going to be, and we have had additional student growth since then, which is a great, not even a problem, it's a great thing that is occurring. When we remember last year when we were looking at the trends and what was happening at the elementary level, the innovative things that the district has been able to bring on and to do has brought those elementary learners to the district, and so we're excited about that. So that process of leveling looks like looking at every one of those elementary classrooms, how many students are in that classroom, the space in that classroom, the certification of the teacher in that classroom, and all of those things to make sure that support is in place. And so that additional aid support looks like classrooms where we have students where it's over the 22-to-1. Every one of of those classrooms would not receive their own teacher aide, but we already have teacher aides at every campus, and so there's this push-in support to make sure that that teacher receives that additional layer of support that they need when you have lots of little learners in one classroom. The innovative positions and the Grow Your Own initiatives that are being highlighted here in the district right now. You're very aware of our full-time sub position. We have quite a number, over 80 full-time subs in our district right now. All of those individuals are close to obtaining their certification. So they have testing eligibility and are able to take a test. But as we are leveling, we're looking at those teachers and what they can handle in comparison to a teacher who is certified as well. We also have a new position called the Teacher Apprentice position that we shared with you at a previous board meeting. And that Teacher Apprentice position is also helping us to fill those needs that we have. You noticed on the slide that in blue, there were quite a number of bilingual classrooms. And so we know with the bilingual model that we have in the district, the need that we will have to have a certified bilingual teacher in those classrooms. And so that's a lot of the places where our bilingual certified teachers have really stepped up to the plate. All of our teachers have. At one campus in particular, Fair Meadows comes to mind. And we have 2 teachers at that campus that have said, nope, I've got what it takes. I want to keep my babies with me, and I'm going to have as many of them as needed to make sure that they are ready. And so we are excited about our teachers having that spirit to be all in and really do what our students need. The online live teaching and learning solution touches more on our secondary side. That's Elevate, which is underway at our high school. So as it relates to class sizes at the secondary level, that is the innovative solution that we're looking at. And much like at our high school, how we have the 7 of 8 and 8 of 8 stipend. So when our teachers at the high school teach more than 6 class periods, they receive a stipend for doing so. They teach 7 of 8, they receive an additional $5,000. They teach 8 of 8, they receive an additional $10,000. Much like that, that is how the incentive for the elementary campuses was birthed. The state tells us that they can only have 22 to 1 students in a classroom, and so for each student over that 22 to 1, the teacher would receive $1,000 stipend. So what that looks like on average, teachers are receiving anywhere from $1,000 to about $5,000, depending on the number of students they have. But in some of our classrooms where the numbers are much larger, those teachers could receive upward to $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, depending on the number of students in their class. And so we believe that that was the least that we could do to incentivize our teachers being all in and taking care of students in this way. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the staffing support and the solutions that we've have at this time. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
At this moment, what is our largest class size?
Our largest class is at Fair Meadows Elementary, and it is on, can we go, are the numbers on the previous slide? Is it 30? I think it's 30. And what that looks like, so you'll know the class where there are 30 students, that means we have another teacher, a substitute there, that is helping to provide that support. And so our certified teacher is providing that instruction, and that when the students are working on their independent practice, the other person has the students, but the person who is the teacher of record for all 30 of those students is a certified bilingual teacher at that campus. Okay. As far as funding is concerned, as it relates to the ability to be able to do the stipend, we have those vacancies. And so those are things that are already in the budget. It is not on top of our budget. And so that's money that you've already approved to be budgeted for positions this year that we'd be using to incentivize our elementary teachers. Yes, ma'am. Wait.
So is there support for the teachers to seek counseling or someone checking on them to make sure that they are okay on a daily?
Well, I understand that. That is the truth. We all need people checking on us because it is different this year. And so absolutely, our administrative staff is amazing. One of the things that they do is that they're going out and they're checking with their teachers. It's a part of what they do on a regular basis. There's also a very robust plan that our curriculum and instruction department has in place where they are checking on our campuses and providing support as well. We still have our teacher mentor program, and as far as SEL services are concerned, we now have 2 options through our benefits for our teachers to have SEL and counseling support at no additional cost to them if needed.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that they are
Yes, ma'am.
covered.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
The online live teaching learning solution, what does that actually look like?
At the secondary level, it looks like the teacher is not physically there in the classroom. The teacher could be anywhere, but they are a certified teacher, and it is virtual. So the teacher is on a screen in the classroom, and they are providing the direct instruction to students. Students are able to ask questions. The teacher is able to answer questions and facilitate that learning. And in the classroom with the students, we have a person called a digital facilitator. That digital facilitator is in the room and making sure that students are engaged. They are making sure that the devices are working so that students are able to have that time to do their assignment. So they are the physical person in the classroom, but the direct teach piece and all of that is from a certified teacher that is not physically here in the building.
So this isn't new, it used to be called what?
We used a different company before called Proximity Learning, and now we've moved to Elevate K-12. Just like that. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, all right.
Ms. Brown, Ms.
Yes,
Brown,
ma'am.
I just want to thank you and your teams and everyone involved in taking care of our students and our teachers.
Our pleasure.
Y'all doing a great job. Just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Next slide. So it's the recommendation that the board approve the class size waivers as presented and to authorize the superintendent to approve any future maximum class size exception waivers for the 22-23 school year. And I'll answer any questions that you may have as well.
Any questions? Do you have a motion? Okay, I'll do it. Do you have a motion for approve the request for class size exemption waivers as presented, and hereby authorize the superintendent of schools to approve any future maximum class size exception waivers for the 22-23 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Raise your, passes 6-0. Now we will move on to action at item F, facility naming. Mrs. Wallace, you're up again.
All right. President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith, in accordance with Board Policy CW Local, the superintendent appoints a committee to review recommendations of names for facilities, and tonight we have 2 recommendations being considered. The committee is recommending that the court in the Reed Middle School Gymnasium is named in honor of Sharon Smith, a former Reed Middle School teacher and coach from 1972 to 2002. Sharon Smith is a graduate of Duncanville ISD and was a Pantherette. After college, she returned to the district and dedicated her entire teaching career to serving this fine district. She began teaching at Reed Middle School in 1972 and retired in 2002, as stated. She was the 7th and 8th grade girls basketball coach, but she also assisted with track and volleyball. Sharon was the first woman in the United States to form a chapter of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, FCA. Sharon was recognized for her contributions when she was inducted into the 2nd class of the Duncanville ISD Athletics Hall of Honor. Sharon was known for writing cards of encouragement to hundreds of her students and her athletes, and this was just one of the outward displays of Sharon's generous and loving heart. I'd like to thank Ms. Marilyn Smith for submitting this recommendation so that it can be considered for the court at Reed Middle School to be named after Coach Sharon Smith. The committee is also recommending that the library at Duncanville High School is named in honor of Miss Flo Judd, who was recently recognized for 45 years of service in Duncanville ISD. And her statement reads, "What can I say about Flo Judd that hasn't already been stated at other honoring events? This lady, and I do mean lady, in all respects, has demonstrated her loyalty and dedication to Duncanville ISD for much of her 83 years of life. Her positive qualities are numerous and known by many administrators, teachers, parents, and students. Miss Judd has definitely been a company man. She loves Duncanville ISD and especially Duncanville High School. DHS has been her second home, and she continues to be an influencer in many ways. This lady is always well-groomed, polite, mannerly, knowledgeable, and very respectful. She speaks to students in a kind manner and sometimes has to be stern. She will refer to her teens as young lady or young man. The energy that Miss Judd displays does not appear to be that of an 83-year-old, but more resembles that of a 38-year or younger. Very few can keep up with her. Her work ethics are consistent with one who cares and has high expectations for everyone. She continues to encourage and inspire others. Miss Judd will not lower her standards, but knows when to go with the flow. And we go with flow. And I'd like to thank Trustee Carla Fahey for submitting this recommendation. Are there any questions about the recommendations of, for these two ladies to be named at the facilities indicated? Okay, I'll turn it over to you guys for a vote.
We're going to do these separate, right? Okay, we're going to take these separate. All right. Do I have a motion to name the court at Reed Middle School in honor of Coach Sharon Smith?
So
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, do I have a motion to name? Do I have a motion to name the library at Duncanville High School in honor of Flo Judd?
second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
At this time, if we have a representative on behalf of Miss Sharon Smith, Miss Marilyn Smith, and Dr. Laws, if you would like to come forward and say a few words.
President Mr. McNeely, Dr. Smith, and the board, we cannot begin to thank you so much for honoring Coach. She was our glue. For 30 years, she kept the team together. We all had that spirit of being the city of champions and having our kids and our teachers reach for the stars. Thank you so much.
Echo Leslie's comments. We thank you so much. This is a big honor to Sharon and to her family and all of her friends, and she was a tremendous person, as many of you know, so thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And is Miss Judd still in the building? All right, if we could invite Miss Judd to please come down and share a few words with us.
To the board, Dr. Smith, Dr. Nix, Mr. McDonald, and everyone involved in Duncanville ISD. Thank you. Some of you have heard me say that I came to Duncanville in 1977 in the middle of a divorce, 2 small children, no job, no prospect of a job. In October, Mr. Ed Davis hired me to teach English at Duncanville High School. And I found home, which it has been all of these years. I've loved every day, every year at Duncanville High School. You know, sometimes the kids have thought I was a little tough on them. I have been. Just before school was out last year, my phone rang, and a male voice said, Miss Judd, you probably don't remember me. And he was right, I didn't. I probably would have if I could have seen his face. But he said, you know, Miss Judd, when I was at that high school, you rode my butt every day. And I thought, well, this probably isn't going to be very pleasant. And I said, well, honey, maybe it needed it. And there was a pause, and he said, yes, ma'am. It did. Thank you for making a better man out of me. I hope, and my prayer is, that during my years at Duncanville High School, I have been able to positively impact the lives of kids. That's why I go there every day. I love the district. My heart and soul belong to Duncanville High School. Thank you so much for thinking enough of me to want my name remembered there. I know that when I'm in heaven, please Jesus, I will still be looking down the halls of Duncanville High School. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now we will move on to information to discussion agenda. 11A, technology update from Dr. Brian Brown.
Good evening, Mr. President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. It is my pleasure to provide an update on the student one-to-one computing program scheduled to begin on October 18th. As an update on the program's timeline, we are currently working with principals to create distribution plans for each campus. We're providing additional training for teachers and administrators and collaborating with the communications department on newsletters and other messages for parents and families. We have several opportunities, or have had several opportunities for training throughout the summer for our faculty and staff, including sessions at Duncanville U and Camp Panther. Next slide, please. We also have our twice monthly Thursday Think Tank with the IDEA team series that focuses on skills and tools that support teaching and learning in a one-to-one environment. And finally, we are hosting 4 impactful sessions on device, student, learning, and classroom management. These sessions are being hosted virtually so they can be recorded and shared with other staff that are unable to attend them. And 2 of those have already happened. So 2 more to go. Next slide. We are gearing up to begin distribution on October 18th, starting with the high school, and then moving through the schedule you see on the presentation. The goal is to provide almost 12,000 students across the district with either a Chromebook or an iPad within 3 weeks. It's a lofty goal, but I believe we can do it. So I'm very happy to entertain any questions you might have.
Any questions? Thank you, Dr. Brown. Okay. Accountability, district star data. Dr. Jordan.
Good evening, President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. It is my pleasure to provide you with the 2022 District and Campus Accountability Overview. Next slide. So the A through F accountability ratings have changed over time. Back in 2018, districts received a rating of A through F, while campuses received a Met standard or improvement required. In 2020, we had both district and campuses not rated due to a declared state of disaster, COVID. And now in 2022, we have both the district and the campuses will either have an A through C rating or a not rated label if they have anything below a C. Next slide. I am excited to announce that Duncanville ISD maintained our B rating for the 2022 school year. Next slide. So when we look at that score of a B, we think, where does that score come from? So in our accountability system, we have 3 domains that we will look at. We have student achievement, that's the STAR performance, college and career and military readiness, graduation rates, that's domain 1. Then we have domain 2, which has 2 parts. Part A, which is academic growth and relative performance, so looking at how we perform with districts and campuses that look a lot like Duncanville ISD. And then part B is relative performance based on our economically disadvantaged numbers. So domain 2 is our school progress domain. So they take the better of those 2, and that's 70% of our accountability score. Then domain 3 is closing the gaps, looking at academic achievement overall, looking at our growth overall, looking at our English language proficiency, student success for STAR, and then our school quality, which is at college, career, and military readiness. So 3 domains, but domain 1 and 2 carry 70% of the weight, and then domain 3 will carry 30% of the weight. Next slide. So let's look at Duncanville and our scores. So looking at those 3 domains in student achievement, we earned a 74. That's that overall STAR performance for our students. Domain 2, school progress, remember it has 2 parts. Part A is the growth. We scored an 85. And then part B is looking at relative performance. How do we compare to other districts around us that look like us based on their economically disadvantaged score? And we had a 76. So for domain 2, we get the better of the score. So for us, it was academic growth, and we have an 85. And then looking at domain 3, closing the gaps, this year we scored a 75. Next slide. So we have many things to celebrate in Duncanville ISD as a district, and then we'll drill down to the campus. Despite students being at home and learning at home for over a year, we continue to make academic growth. That speaks volumes to the work of our campus leaders and our teachers and the district efforts. In addition to growing in academic growth, we also saw a trend of growth in graduation rate. So again, you know what? COVID did not stop us in Duncanville. We continue to achieve excellence, and so we saw growth in both of those areas. Next slide. So we celebrate our district, but let's drill down to our campuses. We had 7 campuses who earned 12 distinctions this year, and you will see the distinctions earned just with a star that's on this slide. Next slide. So now let's look at our campus ratings, and I want to give just a couple caveats before we dig into the scores for each campus. So remember when I said earlier we have 3 domains for our accountability rating, and our highest score was academic growth. That sounds great in a big picture, but when we drill down to academic growth for accountability, especially elementary, that is 1 grade level. That is 4th grade only for our elementary campuses. And so when you look at this slide, your probably initial reaction is, what's going on at elementary? We have to keep in mind that for academic growth, for accountability, we have 3rd grade students who take the STAR, and then we compare how they performed in 3rd grade to their 4th grade score. And remember, those students had over a year of lost instruction. Whereas we look at the secondary campuses and we see that our intermediate and middle schools all had a B. That's a huge celebration for them. Remember, elementary, we lay the foundation. We are learning to read. We are focused on numeracy. And when we have 18 months to 2 years where we're trying to combat COVID, then we will see those deficits show up here. In addition to remembering that elementary growth is 4th grade only, we also have a similar scenario at our high school. So when we look at growth, we are comparing same test. So at the high school, the only test subject that remains the same is English. So when we look at growth at our high school, we are comparing how students fared with English 1 compared to how they fared with English 2. So again, you're thinking, we have all of these EOCs that our students take, but for our growth measure, we're only looking at English 1 to English 2. Next slide. For this slide, I have a comparison of where we were in 2019 and where we are in 2022. So again, you'll see for our elementary, we had some declines, again, thinking about COVID, our students not being on campus, receiving instruction, and opportunities for us to make that COVID climb. And then looking at our secondary campuses where you see many areas of green and areas of celebration where campuses were able to make great gains, specifically in that academic growth area. Next slide. So we talk about where are we now. I feel like we've been talking about learning loss, learning loss, learning loss. The reality is we have to educate the kids we have right now with the gaps and deficits that they bring to us. And so we are really committed to being DVille all in and making that COVID climb. Next slide. So we could develop an amazing plan, and I can present that plan to you and tell you it's the best plan ever, but it's not really about the plan. We want to be an A district. Accountability scores do not define our students, they do not define our leaders, nor do they define our teachers. And so we are focused on what we are doing moving forward for our students. So next slide. In order to focus on what we're doing, we have to be intentional. There are always some opportunity for us to put the Band-Aid on and to solve the problem. And, you know, we have that magic bullet. Give me that one thing to make our students be right where we need to be. But there's not one thing. We have to be intentional about our efforts and our support. And so this year, we are focused on 5 instructional areas. That's professional learning communities. Our teachers, our leaders, our educators have the opportunity to learn so much from each other if we carve out time for them to collaborate, time for them to talk, time for them to come together and share strategies with each other. We have excellent staff members in Duncanville ISD. It's time to leverage that and use that. Our second focus is high-quality Tier 1 instruction, designing curriculum that meets the needs of our students right now is so important. Not meeting the needs of our students pre-COVID, not assuming that every kid has learning loss. It's important for us to teach them where they are and to get them to be a Bronson, a National Merit Scholar. Our third area is goal setting and data analysis. In order to get our kids and campuses where we want them to be, we have to set goals, goals that stretch us, but we also have to monitor the data to make sure that we are progressing towards those goals. We are also providing targeted interventions. So every student is either going to receive an intervention or an enrichment. It's no longer going back to the old tax days where we have bubble kids. All of our kids deserve, and all of our kids will have. And we know, I've said this before with you all, we have to capture their heart before we capture their mind. And so we are focused on restorative practices and student management as well. Next slide. So again, that's a phenomenal plan, Dr. Jordan. Thank you so very much. But what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? It looks like us being DVille all in. It looks like school leadership, curriculum and instruction, HR, technology, all coming together to provide campus support, to ensure opportunities where we have collaboration and learning so that everyone who's invested in our students receive coaching. And then we are monitoring and holding individuals accountable. So campus support is weekly. We are visiting classrooms. We are providing campus-based professional development. We are providing instructional leadership support. And then we have job-embedded coaching for teachers. So while you are teaching and you are delivering instruction, there's someone there to guide you and help you with your students in the classroom. Collaboration, again, I said we have the best of the best. The experts are here. So allowing time for them to come together, collaborate, discuss problems of practice with our students is essential. And so we have professional learning communities for our teachers, for our leaders, and then we have our mentor program. And then looking at coaching, I always ask, why is it that athletes perform so well for the coaches? As a teacher, I go, why don't they do that for me, right? The answer is they receive immediate feedback on the field or on the court. They know exactly if they're going to start in the game or if they're sitting on the bench. And so we have to make sure as we put this plan in place that we are providing job-embedded coaching to our leaders, to our teachers, and to our staff. And last but certainly not least, they say you have to inspect what you expect. And so it is important for us to be visible in the work, in the trenches, supporting. It's easy for me to stand here and say, don't do that, and increase student engagement. But it's also relevant for us as a team to go and walk campuses to check for fidelity, to see if we're aligned, and then to really coach through observation and feedback. So we have weekly support, we have monthly support. Really, it's important for us to not just put scores up and tell our principals to do better because our kids deserve better. We have to model being all in at the central office level as well. Next slide. So then as we're implementing this plan, how are we measuring progress? It might be a phenomenal plan or it might not. How do we know? It's us checking and connecting throughout the year. And so we use MAP as our screener and our diagnostic. And so our students take the MAP assessment the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year. And throughout these different windows, we are providing intervention time, we are providing curriculum spiraling, we are making sure that we have differentiated support and attendance support so that we can make adjustments to the plan that I just shared with you on the previous slide. Next slide. This concludes my 2022 accountability update. I am happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Dr. Howard?
Yes, I have a question. So I love your report and how you have the campus and all the leaders and the teachers all involved, all in, right? So my question is, if I'm a parent at one of these campuses and I know that campus that my child attends needs to improve, how am I, as a parent, how can I be involved? Is there any committees filtering out to the parents, hey, we would like to help you with your child. These are the things that we are looking to cause a closure on the gap of your child. I'm speaking from, like, if I have a child at this campus, what do you have coming to me to help you? Teachers are doing great, I get that. But I'm the parent now, and I've got to get involved, right? I mean, so is there any talk about that?
That's stretching our parent university a little deeper, and that's one of the conversations that we've had. For parent university, we expect parents to come to us, right? So we have these virtual online sessions twice a month, but now we're taking parent university out to our parents and being very specific about the campus, the individual campus needs. So if we have campuses who were in that middle column that had a B, then maybe our focus right now is not on growth, or it's not on strategies to move students. But our campuses where you saw a not rated, it's important for us to focus with those parents on what does a reader look like at home? How do you pick a book that's on your child's level? And so we're working with our team to take that to our families.
Second thing, it concerns me that if these campuses are English as a second language, how are they getting that as well?
So that's it. Thank you for that. We are working with our language acquisition team now that we have our campuses identified, and it will be a joint effort. It has been easier for us with the virtual because we can record in a second language, but now we're partnering to make sure that we have English and then Spanish speaking going out to our families. Thank you.
Dr. Ivory?
I have a question. I agree with Trustee Barracruz. The plan looks like it was intentional and thought out. My question is, what is the process of matching your principal with the right coach or mentor? Are the principals giving feedback? Is that flexible? Is it fluid? Does it change? Or just how are you doing the matching with the coach and the principal?
So the principal coach is twofold. We have partnered with school leadership where they have looked at our new principals, their needs, and partnered them with a principal who fills that need, who has a strength in that area. And then the second fold is the instructional coaching. And so again, looking at the instructional coaching, that's revolving for us. It's not necessarily taking a principal's instructional deficit and matching them with one person. From the C&I lens, they have a team of people that support them based upon that gap and deficit in that moment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
It's amazing, what you all have been able to, accomplish. And I know, our goal is to make that A. So in looking at some of the ratings, Hyman had like a 19-point gain and Merrifield 16. So can you kind of provide some insight regarding, what they did in order to do that?
So when you look at the three domains, again, we have the student achievement domain, then school progress. For Hyman and Merrifield, their academic growth. So what they did, and I don't want to speak solely for them, but I can share, they focused on every single student in their building. The first thing they did was identify where the students were when they walked in the building. That is so important. So this was your score last year. And then they set growth goals for those students. So every student had to grow. They provided interventions. It was an all hands on deck. We were at Merrifield last week. The librarians helping out. Everyone's coming in. But it's making sure every student moves while at that campus.
Any other questions? I think you're up next, aren't you?
Yes.
Just keep going.
Next slide, please. So again, President McNeely, Board of Trustees, Dr. Smith, it is my pleasure to provide you with our professional development plan for the 2022-2023 school year. Next slide. Our professional development plan is focused on four main areas. What do we do to prepare prepare teachers and staff to receive students for back to school? How are we ensuring that we remain in compliance? What is the ongoing professional learning that we offer? And then what do we do during the summer for our staff? Next slide. So looking at our back-to-school PD, we have so many opportunities for our teachers and staff to learn, whether it's through Camp Panther, which is a 3-day leadership retreat. We also have our August back-to-school days for district and campus. We have opportunities for gifted and talented, our TELPOS training, restorative practices, but in our bilingual 2-day collaborative. It is important for us to front-load as much professional development as possible to make sure that our staff is ready for our students to come to school. Next slide. Our second area is compliance training. So we have required trainings as a school district that we have to offer through our clearinghouse. Those required trainings are housed in Safe Schools. They're all virtual, mainly virtual trainings. We have a window where our Safe Schools window opens July 9th, and teachers and staff have until September 30th to complete those required trainings: suicide prevention, bullying, awareness, and implementation of trauma-informed care. Again, all of those are housed online through Safe Schools, and there's a window just to make sure our staff has the time to complete them. Next slide. Ongoing throughout the year, it has been our goal and has been our charge to offer a variety of professional learning to our teachers throughout the year. So thank you so very much for adopting an academic calendar that allows for professional development to occur where teachers don't have to stay after school. And so we have emotional and social support through our mentor program. We have job-embedded professional learning, and then we are able to provide professional growth resources. We are so thankful that our new teachers chose Duncanville ISD, and so we want to keep them here. So we revamped our mentor program this year. It is called RISE, and it's retention through individual support and empowerment. Next slide. In addition to our ongoing PD, and Dr. Brown mentioned this earlier, we've been collaborating with all departments across the district to host a variety of professional development sessions. So whether it's through the impact learning, through content conversations, and content conversations are those curriculum-based professional development opportunities where teachers come in, they learn strategies with the resources that they are using in the classroom, and they walk away with what we refer to as a plug and play. So we show them, and then they go back and teach at the campus. And then we added this year Instructional Leadership Tuesdays. So this is a time for our campus leadership teams to learn virtually with us in those focus areas of instruction. Next slide. Our summer PD offerings this last year, we launched Duncanville U, which was our 2-day summer conference. We had a huge support for our conference, and so we will continue to offer the summer conference this upcoming summer for our staff. Next slide. I'm happy to answer any questions or receive any comments that you have at this time.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jordan. If we move on to information discussion, item D, Duncanville High School hi-hat drill team to perform aboard a Carnival cruise, April the 6th through the 10th, 2023. Dr. Nix, how did you luck out into this one? Go right ahead.
Well, thank you, sir. Well, good evening, President McNeely, members of the board, Dr. Smith. You know, we have a problem in Duncanville, and that is that our students are great. And because they are great, there are so many opportunities that are afforded to them. And this is no exception. Tonight, I'm bringing to you as an information item for your consideration the approval of our Duncanville High School Hi-Hats drill team to perform on board the largest cruise ship company in the world, the Carnival Breeze. The Hi-Hats would be performing in front of thousands of passengers, family, and crew members at the Ovation Theater, the ship's main performance stage. Board, we're presenting this as an information item for your consideration at this time because we want you to know that we're still in the process of vetting this through, but we want to give you plenty of time to ask questions and get a very good handle on all the information. Because although our students travel and they perform all over, this is something new for us, a cruise. And so we have to make sure that we legally vet through the process. That's what we're currently in the process of doing shifting everything to our legal department so that they can view our scheduling, our process for monitoring students, all the legalities and technical things that go along with this, as well as provide you with the opportunity to just get a good grasp on the information and ask whatever questions that you may have. I just want to share a little bit more information, and we also have our dance teacher, Ms. Dawson, here to answer whatever questions you may have about the technical aspects. But this is 24 students with 20 chaperones, all parents. 18 of them parents, so 4 of them would not be parents, and of course, Ms. Dawson has a plan for that. But you have the information in front of you, and it would be my pleasure to answer any question that you may have at this time. Just celebrating the success, and this is a great opportunity for us to just at least talk about the opportunity for our students. So any questions you may have at this time?
Dr. Nix, thank you for sharing this information. How did a cruise ship opportunity come about?
I'm going to let the person in charge of the amazing young ladies answer that question. Ms. Dawson?
Hello, good evening, Mr. President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Nix. So we actually received the, I'm sorry. Oh, Dr. Smith, please forgive me, I'm so sorry. I do want to thank you guys for allowing for me to be here, and again, I do apologize. So we actually received a email inviting us to come and perform at the cruise, and so in all honesty, we did receive a few invites to where we got to do the Disney performance, a cruise, and a couple of local performances that we are still working on now. And I did present it to the parents, and believe it or not, the parents were a little more excited than the actual team, and so the parents did vote on actually picking the Carnival cruise, just because it was something different. We do know that a couple of girls of the dancers have been to the Disney performance and things before, and so they were set on the actual Carnival cruise because it was a greater opportunity for our dancers.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's an amazing opportunity and could be a great experience for our students.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that.
Of course, thank you for hearing me out.
I have a question. Can you tell me, how are you going to handle them doing the academics? So are they allowed? Huh? So I'm just concerned that will they be able to, are they responsible for holding and maintaining a good GPA, before they go? And will, like with our athletes, they're not allowed to play, right?
Right.
If they're failing, so is there going to be a strategic plan to make sure that they're all on a great, successful plan academically before they leave?
So luckily, one of the things that I have been privileged with is that we do have a group of young ladies who have amazing academic skills. We have a few of our dancers that is actually in like the top 2% of the class, 10%. So we do have definitely a lot of dancers that have achieved academically. So the girls do have to be able to go. They do have to make sure that they're passing, and they know that they are responsible for any assignments that they may miss. Yes. Luckily, we are only out of school the 2 days because that Friday, I believe, is Good Friday. And so we were only out of school 2 days, so that Wednesday, the dancers do know that they are responsible for any missed work, as well as an email will be sent out to the teachers, just please asking them to allow for the dancers to receive any work and allow for them to turn it in once we do return. So again, we do give out grade sheets, and the dancers are aware that they must be academically eligible to be able to go.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. What a wonderful opportunity this would be for our young ladies. I was wondering if there was any negotiating room with Carnival. I noticed the $650 per person. Do they know we're like an 80% free and reduced? Can we negotiate
Well,
a lower
honestly,
price, or that's a lot of money?
So luckily, because so many parents did decide to go, it actually knocked the price down from the $650 to $525. And so we have been doing fundraisers, and within this last week, we have already raised enough money to pay the first deposit for all 24 students. So that at least takes off the $150 from the $525. And my goal is to continue to fundraise, and hopefully we will be able to pay for every student to go. So, yeah, so if
Thank you.
everything works out, no student will have to pay out of pocket.
Thank you.
What's your name again?
Brianna Dawson.
Ms. Dawson,
Mhm.
you're doing a great job.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jackie?
Thank you, Mrs. Dawson. So I was just wondering, are we being compensated for the, the entertainment?
Well, in all honesty, we have not worked that out. That is a very good question. And I would definitely send an email tomorrow morning just asking about that. We were so overwhelmed with the opportunity that, in all honesty, it did not cross my mind to ask for any compensation. But it would definitely be on my to-do list tomorrow morning.
Well, that's great. They deserve it.
Thank you.
And so I realize, like Dr. Nick said, the legal ramifications have to be worked out, including the insurance and all of that. And so when you bring it back, all of those details will be available. And that's all I have. I think it's a wonderful opportunity. And please keep us, informed regarding the status of any fundraising activities, because, maybe we can help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Will do. Thank you.
I saw the cost per student. Is the cruise fee a part of this, or is it comped, the actual cruise fee?
So that is the cruise fee along with transportation and all of the girls' meals. So that's the transportation to and from Duncanville we dock out of Galveston, and then we return to Galveston and we drive back to Duncanville. So that is the actual transportation, room and board, food, and actual cruise. That's included in the $525.
I just want to commend you on your parent chaperone ratio. You answered like 8 of my questions, so that was great.
You need 8 more chaperones?
Of course, please. Please.
Board, thank you so much. I want to just take a moment of personal privilege to once again, we have recognized so many of our students today. Ms. Dawson, last year was her first year, and she is just amazing and has done such an amazing job with these young ladies and continues to create wonderful opportunities and do such a great job, she and her assistant. And so thank you so much for your questions and for allowing us to present this to you this evening.
Dr.
One more
Nix,
question.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Who is her assistant? What is the name of her assistant?
Absolutely. Right here, would you like to stand please?
Oh, nice meeting
Ms.
you.
Roloffs, yes. Mhm.
Thank you.
Ms. Dawson, how many hi-hats do you have in total? 24. Oh, that's the entire team?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So, Board, we'll be bringing this back to you next month with the requested information for your consideration for approval. And so, any other questions that you may have? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Seeing as that's it, we'll go home. We're adjourned.